Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Ed Fiels here, along with Rogan Smith. She has the pineapple hairstyle. Is that a pineapple?
Mm-mm.
Okay,
because Kendrick knew about one.
Okay, because Kendrick knew about the pineapple, and we also have Candelaria Thompson.
Mm-hmm.
That's of Spanish descent, I think.
It is.
And
it is?
Mm-hmm.
And like Bahamas, you know,
the shallows,
seas,
shallow water.
And of course Kendrick Williams, who has a what does that hat say?
Make America great again.
No. I love the red hat.
What does it say?
That looks like the Trump hat, though.
That's Ralph. That's Ralph. That's Ralph.
No.
That's Ralph Lauren.
No.
What is it?
What did it? Tommy.
Tommy Hilfiger.
Tommy Hilfiger.
Okay, I didn't see that.
I like the red hat.
Yeah.
Kendrick, it looks nice on you.
Yeah. Well, there you go. So I ever thought
And
about
your
maybe having one with a little white thing at the end.
Hey?
Oh, you look like
Santa
Bert.
Claus?
You look like Bert.
Ernie
and Bert from Sesame Street.
Ed has on red pants. Well, not
red.
red.
No, this is not red.
It's not
I
red.
just see that. Is that maroon?
I think it's a sort of a maroon.
It's a maroon.
That's a nice combination.
Thank you.
With
That's
a
a nice
light blue
jacket.
shirt and
Thank you.
lovely
Not accustomed
dark.
to that.
As you
light
are
blue
aware, I have
checkerboard.
no real Christmas spirit, as you're aware.
No, spare it.
So
as
what
we
I
say.
do is the week prior to the Christmas morn, when the baby born, I try to present an outside, an exterior
Right, of happiness.
happiness, so that people can just say, "Well, boy, he's festive."
He's festive.
They don't really know.
You look nice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes,
Thank
you do.
Thank
You look nice.
Thank you.
You look.
I look at it again. I want to know what you looking at, babe.
I was looking at
I
the.
reminded me to say, babe. Sorry.
Said, the
Hey, I told the people in my office.
Before you have to apologize.
I told the people in my office. I call them sir from now on. I fool them, but no taking no chances.
Sure.
Yes, sir.
And I always talk about okay, baby, for everybody, even in my office. Okay, baby. So I gotta rein that in.
Okay, sir. Even to the children now.
Yes, sir.
To the little children. Yes, sir.
I call my niece mom. Yes, mom. What you
yes,
call me?
ma'am. Yeah.
Annie.
But see, I don't say. Well, you can say
No, I
ma'am
say
because
yes,
you're
ma'am.
a woman. Because you're a woman, you can get away with ma'am. I am afraid of, I don't know what to call
What? Something
women anymore.
happened,
What?
No, just the whole
No,
thing.
all these Me Too, the Me Too campaign,
The fact that they even have a thing called Me Too.
the hashtag Me Too. All the people coming
Yes,
out, you know.
me too.
By the way, before we get more into the happiness, has there been any more revelation? I know one chef the other day.
Oh, Mario Batali.
Yeah, what is he a chef of?
What do you mean he's a chef of? He's
I mean,
a TV chef, and
okay.
he has some, I think he has
And
some
what was he doing?
restaurants.
Groping?
Making sexual
Fondling?
advances or whatever. I mean, it's the same. And then it's almost like formulaic right now. It's like accusation is made.
Boom,
they come out
10
with the
more.
apology. More surface. They take a leave of absence or they're fired or whatever. It's like, it's the same thing over and over again.
But then, does it go beyond the accusations? Do they then have to prove it? I mean, what happens after that?
Well, most of them are like.
I'm just asking. I don't know what happens after the accusations come out.
Decades later, so the statute of limitations.
Right. So what happens then? You just.
I guess
you
your
just
career's
ruined.
just ruined.
You just ruined.
his-
Yeah, just ruined. Yeah.
Which.
Yeah.
Or you go into hiding for a while and then you resurface.
Shouldn't have been doing that anyway.
Doing what?
The groping
Seeking a
and
little bit of happiness. Speaking of which, and I find this, this I'm going to be very calm here, Rogan Smith,
You going into
because this could get me off.
this marital thing?
Yeah, see that
rape.
I don't want to go into the space
I was
that I
gonna
was
talk about
on the
referendum?
The referendum.
Well, you don't
Because remember when I went in that
started
into that space, it was not a pleasant space. Now this to me is even higher, a lower bar. A higher bar, not that. I mean, they're all high bars, right? Or low, no, they're all low bars that should be crossed easily, like equal rights. But on the ground bar or beneath the ground bar has to be rape. We shouldn't. I don't know whether we have a discussion over that.
Right.
But I find what's very interesting is the clergy. The clergy seems to be, your boy Paul said that that's a contract. He was the president of the Christian Council. Remember that? It's a contract. Once you sign that contract, once you go down that aisle,
No.
that's mine's.
It's certainly not a contract.
It's mine's.
No.
And when I decide, and I think there are other people, I think Munka might have said something like, did he say something like, when you want to climb on that? Something like that? Was there climbing?
I don't know about the climbing.
See, anyway,
But, that's
Yeah.
that's.
But I know he had a problem
that's a
with people.
that's a touchy subject.
Why is it touchy?
Why-
No, I mean for me because I mean it gets me very.
riled up, yeah.
Riled
So
up.
maintain
Candy
calm.
from 0
Yeah,
to
no,
0 to
I'm
100.
calm.
Maintain
Yeah,
calm because
400 on
the
the
way
case.
because the way to combat this is to remain calm. When you go into the emotional,
Yeah, no,
because it's actually something that's you really shouldn't even be discussing.
no,
It would
at
be
all.
like saying, let's talk about the benefits of slavery. It's like,
And there are those who would argue
Yeah,
that there
but
were
you-
lots of benefits.
but you see, like your boy Roy. Roy said he was happy then.
Yeah.
But I
Happy
told you,
for whom?
I told you, I know I repeat myself, and you remind me of that. And that's what's good is that even though I don't have a memory, you get to remind me that I said it. But what was it, South Park or Family Guy? I told you about that, right?
Which one? I mean, say the joke.
Family Guy likes to mimic
Right.
things, like
Real
they'll
life.
mimic
Oh, yeah.
medieval days and
Yeah.
all that. So
The-
one
the
of them they were
flashback
medieval,
scenes
yeah, one of them
and
they were mimicking was slavery. And who's the dog?
Brian.
Brian, because that's the whole other thing that I'm uncomfortable with. But Brian
That's in
was
love
he
with
was
the
a
mother.
slave, and he tried. He has that kind of like casual voice.
Yeah.
He was like kind of listen, listen, can you direct me to HR? I have a couple
Yes,
of
I remember
concerns.
this one.
Hi,
Yeah.
could you imagine that?
Yeah, no.
I'd like to talk to the
Uh,
boss, please.
I'm glad Ellsworth brought this back up because it is something that needs to be discussed. I was disappointed when the former prime minister he tried to bring this to the fore and it was so vehemently rejected by so many people, and I was disappointed in the clergy, members of the clergy,
Well, it's not surprising with the clergy because they still holding on to.
the vestiges of the past.
Oh yeah, I'm surprised.
Right, it's
and by the way, y'all are very fortunate.
I would think they would be a little bit more advanced.
Y'all are very fortunate.
No, because they
The
still
women
have
them.
that.
The women
Because y'all lucky they holding on to things like sacrifice. Okay? You see what I'm saying? See, any crew that would hold on to, well, this is what I always say. If you find a population, and think about the clergy now, that's still wearing garments back from the day, they ain't too advanced. They ain't looking to move forward. They ain't going for the 55-inch.
We got the lawyers who wear
Well,
wigs
we
from
know
back in the
that's
days.
right, yeah. But what I'm saying is, the and all that crew. Once you have that robe,
To me,
There's
I
still
just
this is the sense of entitlement
yeah. I was
that they feel entitled. Men feel entitled to. This is what
it's
is mine.
entitlement,
It's
not
entitlement.
entitled women. It's entitlement, men.
And that's what we have to get. That's the hurdle that we have to jump over. It's you are not entitled
see
to
that?
my body.
Did you see that?
What's that?
That
I
was
did.
me jumping over the hurdle.
Yes.
listen.
Okay.
I want
knock it
to
down.
read this. Donna Nichols has been on the show.
Yeah.
Along with
And
Sandra.
I'm not your property.
And
Yes, you are.
I just have
You're
to
my
read
chattel.
this because when I read this, it just made me so upset.
Okay.
So she said, as an example of how marital rape can manifest, Mrs. Nichols said, this is her quote, "If you're in a marriage and you don't want your marriage to end for whatever reason, but you know your husband has been unfaithful and has children outside marriage, or you know he stays out late every night, so you say, look, I know of your indiscretion, so you need to use a condom to have sex with me. He may say, a condom with my wife?
Condom? What kind of condom?
Your body belongs to me. You
Yeah.
can't deny me of my conjugal rights."
No.
And she
It's a
says, I
contract.
use that example because I know that that's
See,
the most
entitlement.
common example. And that resonated with me because I know of a
You
situation
could be charged with murder in the States or attempted
yes,
murder.
where a woman got an STD because her husband, she didn't even know. Her husband was out there having sex with somebody else and wasn't checking himself. He didn't use protection. He wasn't doing any tests and stuff. And when she went for a routine scan, she found out.
Oh, wow.
That's the reason.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You know how scary that is?
Yeah.
And then, boy.
But
So
I
he's
mean,
just
but not
saying,
even that guy.
This is mine's.
Right.
Yeah,
but-
and you ain't gonna what am I wearing
Deny.
a condom for?
Kind of night.
But I don't understand how people get so upset. My question is this. How are they going to prove that a woman was raped or a man was raped in his marriage? That's my only question.
Yeah, that's and see, listen. So what always happens is the question of not only just proof, but how do you know some woman who is angry?
That's precise. It can't be
Doesn't
where
just-
you take my word for
just-
it.
Yeah, So that's the problem. Now, so if we're prepared to discuss that, that's a different thing.
Yeah, we need to have that conversation.
Right. You can say, okay, now we accept that there can be, because it could just like rape anywhere else.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, it could just be a date. If we want to have a discussion on how do we go about proving rape, that's one thing, but not whether it's right or wrong.
Right. No.
Right.
Absolutely.
That's the problem I have.
Yeah. If you want to have a discussion
on,
yeah, if we want to have a discussion like, listen, how do we determine if I just had sex with my wife last night?
Rough sex.
Well, just sex, and then she wake up because she find out, well, I was down by Candy House. Okay? I was just down there. I wasn't doing nothing until she goes, rape. Okay?
Because you have some vindictive people.
I got a wine. It's a wine and a break because I don't have the thing. So on a sign language thing now.
We got to continue this.
No music. So this is bring it back and open it up.
Watch whenever we can. Stretch it out.
Yeah, we're on the air. So,
who knows?
Yes, happiness.
Happy.
We're talking about, and we'll talk with our guest. Our guest this afternoon is Aramantha.
Arinthia Komalafi.
Arinthia. Arinthia Komalafi. Who's Aramantha anyway? Okay, it's the same genre of name. The Fiels. Anyway, so we're talking about with Candy and Rogan Smith about this marital rape, and I tell you, you've taught me this a little bit, Rogan Smith. There are moments. There's a moment when did they have it? 2012? When was the referendum? No, 2016.
Last year, hey?
2016, right. There's a moment. I went on the air. I lost control because I was so passionate about something, and I, what's so funny is I watch programs every single day. MSNBC, everyone's using the word stupid. It's not like it's that much of an offensive word. But the reality is, what I realize is I cannot get in a situation where something is so finite of a right or a truth that I'm going to have an argument with someone about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Who thinks otherwise?
You can talk about nuance. How do we prove? How do we disprove? But don't come in about, with the marriage and the contract.
The contract. I sure ain't no woman was signed up and saying, this man gonna rape me. He can beat me up and force me to have sex when I don't want to. Let me sign up. Let me run down the aisle to that.
You never been down them weddings?
I've never been to one wedding like that.
The preacher say, do you, Candelaria, take your Kendrick to be a lawfully wedded husband
to rape you
to
when he
love
wants.
and behold, to allow the rape based on the contract till death do you part?
I want to hear that vow.
What?
To allow the rape based on the contract.
On the contract till death do you part?
Be like, nah.
What you say, Pastor?
Nah.
I do.
Nah,
back to what you say.
I do not.
I do, because nowadays the woman's them ain't even going to obey.
They say we write our own vows.
What is that?
Yes, what is
You don't
that?
know the definition of obey?
I do.
Submit.
Get my pork chop.
Okay.
I always got to go to pork chop.
We need some serious provisions of this institution.
Get my pork chop, and
it
better be steam. I want a baked pork chop.
Or fried.
No, do dry up. I want steam.
That is really ridiculous.
What?
Just all of the
Well,
just listen to it.
Let me tell you something that's interesting. And I always go to this, Rogan Smith. You're familiar with Galileo. He's my favorite. Let me tell you what's ridiculous. Now, this is in a normal scenario, but this is ridiculous. You know why Galileo was persecuted for discovering that the Earth revolved around the sun? It wasn't about that not being a truth or not, It was about he questioned something, and he broke it down, and so, therefore, what else can you break down?
Yeah.
That's all that is.
Yeah. What else could possibly be wrong that we haven't questioned properly?
Because we're supposed to question.
And you're shaking up the world that I know, that,
It's a tricky
as
thing
I see it.
It's a tricky
hold
thing.
on.
I've been telling y'all with the robes and everything that the sun revolves around the earth. And now this chap here, what do you name again? Galileo? He would, no, we can't have that.
It's like somebody coming to tell you that the sky is red now.
We can't have that.
No, what?
Okay.
I know it to be blue.
This thing about obey, that comes from a construct from way back, and we don't need to change that, because if we change that, now we got a whole. What else are we looking to change? You see what I'm saying? Because I mean, maybe we're going to change it to love and to hold and to cherish and all that until say 2023.
Not till death do us part.
That whole thing.
Okay.
Not till death do us part.
Yeah, till the 5-year expiry.
To be my life's partner and just witness my life.
Child.
Do you think, when you think about, and I know we're going to go back into the marital thing, but you maybe segue a little. Do you think that makes sense to
What?
even say that?
What?
Life's partner?
No,
Oh,
to just make that kind. What do you do to say for life? Where do you do that?
There's
I'm
nothing
going to
that
have
you
this
do
job
for life.
I'm going to have this
Your child
shape
isn't
for
with you
life.
for
I'm
life.
gonna-
What about your children? You parent for life until one of them
Yeah,
go.
but you know what?
Yeah.
Even that you get a little break.
Some people.
No, but they
You get a little
grow.
break.
don't get
They
parent
move out.
Yes, they
They
get
move
older.
out.
You'll
They
always be
fund
that
me
parent.
after a while.
Yeah, but it's not
Fund
as
you?
Yeah.
but they're not as dependent on you.
After- it's
They're not
schedule rate.
dependent anymore.
Okay, and certainly one thing you don't get in that, when your child leave home,
And
they don't
give
go, I need 50%.
Well, not everybody does.
They ain't got no dower.
Not everybody.
Okay.
Not
Right.
everybody asks for the.
No, but I'm just saying
You
you're
can decide what
entitled
to
to
give
that.
them, eh?
Yeah, or give them nothing.
Or give them. That's what I'm saying. You could decide what to give them or give them.
But to make
Nothing
to
is
start up, you meet someone. To think about this, Rogan Smith, you go out to show you how comical it is in a way. You can go out and meet someone, have a good old tequila time, and in say 6 months, which is long in some instances, find yourself at an altar to say, you never knew this place before 6 months ago. Oh yeah, Rogan Smith, I would have for life. Nothing can touch that.
After 6 months.
Woo!
And plenty of people do it.
Woo!
Whoa.
And,
You hear the echo?
yeah, and I don't. Well,
Is that
some people
how
it works for
realistic
some
is it?
people.
No, it works.
But some people spend a lifetime just dating each other or being in common law situations, and they get married, and it still don't last.
I mean, when you think about this, though,
And some people get married after 6 months, and it lasts for 100 years.
But to Candy's point about, when she says, "Oh, babe, what is that?" You know where that whole construct of life do his part come from? I own you for life.
Yes.
It ain't nothing to do with you. It ain't nothing to do with you. The women's them.
No,
in life.
we have it's a sense of entitlement, a sense of you're my possession, you are mine, my property, I own you.
I make up goats for you.
Yeah, but if it wasn't for
But
you, I'd
that's-
had a cow.
But that comes from the same mindset. It's just reword. It's just reconstructed a little bit.
And I mean, think
That's
about you think about how odd. I mean, I don't know. Maybe let's be devil's advocate. We say it's odd because of what we think about now. But imagine you two, the female, if me and Kendrick, we show up to y'all respective daddy house, say, look here, man, she ain't even that hot. I was, for someone who little hot, I had a give take 10 goat. But this one I think only weighed about 7. And daddy look at you, he look at me, he say, you know what? Come 8.
Come on.
Because I know.
Because I know
I
no,
can't take 7. Okay, that's a giveaway.
That is so horrible.
But come 8.
Oh,
Okay.
Why are you so
I
silly?
knew I could.
No, but
I
that's
could not have
that's
been born.
essentially what was going on.
But
That
at
still
that
goes
time-
on.
Time.
No,
I'm
that
born at the
temperament
right
you-
time.
No,
I know
that's,
the
no, you're
temperament
born in
you
the
got.
right place. That's still
Right
going
place
on.
and right time.
Yeah.
Right
Is that going
place
on right now?
and right time because I could not do it.
I thank God I
I
was
think
born
I would have
here.
been a radical.
I they would have to stone me in the
You
street.
wouldn't have to do nothing. You
I
would
would
have
have
been
been
your
around.
mindset.
If I had the mindset that I have now,
Yeah, go ahead.
I would have been stoned.
Like you remember
Oh.
Eddie Murphy
I
thing?
would've been
We would have been dead.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
but
like I always say with slavery,
No.
I would have. Well,
Yeah,
my leg would have
yeah.
been chopped
no,
off.
we probably would have been the
I'd-
ones
I'd
that
lead in the
championed.
revolution.
No, yes, we would have championed
I'd
through
lead-
that.
no, for real.
Look
You,
at Ed.
you wake up now? You
Ed,
wake up now?
Yeah, no
Listen,
candy,
let me
you
tell you
ain't lying.
something. You would have. Let me tell you what happened. First of
I'd
all,
get some
when
blood.
when you would have been born,
They'd have to kill me,
you would have been
but-
born in an environment where you don't know nothing about this. You remember the Eddie Murphy skit or Modern? I don't remember which
Oh,
one.
life?
He say when you bring the African, don't expose it to y'all. You remember
No,
that?
no,
You
no,
remember,
no,
he had he had a routine. You remember this, right? See, Kendrick
What is this,
remember.
a movie?
No, it was a comedy
Stand-up-
routine where he
oh.
said when he go to find his wife, he going to Africa.
It's
He going to
not- no,
Africa.
is he Eddie talking
Eddie
now?
Murphy.
Okay.
Because when you go to Africa, you get one of them wife, and they're like, yes sir, yes Eddie, all that. And then she bring that to the States, so like a ladder. No, girl, you ain't putting up with that. Next thing you know, she back talking. Okay. So you don't know, based on the environment that you're growing up,
I know
you can't imagine it.
I have a spirit of a rebel.
I know my spirit.
Let me
I
tell
know
you
my
something.
spirit from past
You know your
lives
spirit?
and future
Let me tell you
lives.
what your spirit is.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what your spirit is. If you were a slave, like me and Ken would like to think we would be running bucks. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
But when they put you on that pole
To whip you?
and to whip you, and you
That's
think about
why
that pain.
that's why I was going
I'm
to get
not saying that I'm not saying
you
that
whip
stuff
me
wouldn't
once or
have
twice.
happened.
No,
Twice.
see, let me tell you where Eddie stand. When I see Ken get whipped, that's it for me.
So you can fall in line.
Oh!
See
You fall in
that?
line?
I can't. Didn't I not tell you I will turn you in?
You falling in
You
line?
Samuel.
You
In the slave?
look
for
like
Listen,
a
let me tell you
blind
something.
faller, you know.
You
Let me
ever
tell
watch
you.
Django?
Yes, when he was
Samuel.
No,
Jackson.
you don't have to go to that extreme. But
Sell out.
you don't have to go.
Sell out.
No. There's a difference.
Sell out
between,
for
see,
sale.
no,
You
he
remember
gone to.
that? You
Yeah, I
watched
remember
it?
that. No, he gone to that extreme. I'm talking about. I just ain't gonna cause no trouble.
Right.
Mm,
You
See,
just
just-
be quiet
I
like
think
a
that you're
mouse.
so
I try to be
differently right
invisible.
now.
Right.
Yes, this is my section. Okay, this is my cotton
You
young.
pick your cotton.
Yeah, this is my
just go
Johnson
on.
and Johnson. I
See,
with
so?
Johnson. Huh?
I'm so disappointed.
Yeah,
my
you're
quota.
disappointed. Yeah,
I'm
and you,
disappointed in you.
yeah, you would have been breathing.
We
I
brought
should be breathing. No, I should be breathing.
You look
out
like the,
of
you look like the breathing
plantation.
type.
We would get put in
No.
the what is the hole A?
The
What
hole.
they used to put? Yes, Fringe. You remember in Django when they put the girl in the?
Carrie?
Yes,
They put
Carrie.
in the little well,
In the
sweat
box.
box.
Yeah,
in the sweat box outside.
Yeah.
Child,
Yeah,
I
stay
get,
putting in there.
yeah. But I wasn't going to stay on the plantation. They would have
No.
to kill me,
Yeah.
or I was going to try and run away.
No, yeah, but
You know what's amazing about that? I wonder in
He
terms
seems
of
upset.
numbers. No, I'm not upset. I
think
wonder
he
in
caught
terms
me
of
happy.
I wonder in terms of
Caught me
numbers.
pickle.
How much was running?
Down, cotton pickle.
Okay.
I'm sure you don't think people attempted
Look at
to.
No,
you.
I didn't say that people weren't attempted. I said how much.
How many? Yeah.
I think that the majority were just saying, you know what? Hosea, Hosea.
You should be ready to
Guess
sing
what?
this.
Sing it
Your
now.
Yes,
Negro
'cause
spiritual
that's just-
day.
What the song name?
Nobody
Sweet
knows.
Lord,
Oh, sweet low, sweet chariot.
Sweet chariot.
You know the song. That's what you're saying in
Coming
the
for
field.
carry me home.
That's why he named Fields.
Yeah. I was in the field. I was in the field, boy.
He's in the
I just one of them.
Oh,
You don't want me to. But anyway,
Yeah.
so no, I just think that you these norms. This is an interesting time. We live in a very interesting time, where norms and mores, especially with this new group coming along, are not sacred. And you can question anything, you can say anything, and the things that we know what you realize 15, 20 years ago, the kind of conversations we're having now.
Oh, this would have been majorly taboo.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
What you saying that marriage? What you mean by that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay, would you explain yourself? That's what I don't explain.
Ostracized, big
Explain
time.
yourself.
Yes, please cover
Big
your
time.
mouth.
Big time out, yeah.
You saying that obey is not the
The thing.
thing that you.
Ought to be doing.
You
You got it?
would have been destined to be a spinster for the rest of your life.
Man, listen.
You know what you need? You need a good kalip. Good kalip. That's all.
Do you know they still use that word?
Kalip?
Cut it?
No, spinster.
Spinster.
Well,
Could we-
spinster.
No,
my
I'm
mother
just
has
saying.
my birth certificate. It says
Well, what's a
spinster for
man?
my mother.
A man.
No, they don't have an equivalent
Nothing.
spinster. No, you're being silly now.
No, it is what.
They must have a
no,
man
it's,
name.
No.
Check it out. I'm sure they have a
We
man.
don't
You know
put
what?
on
I'm
our
gonna
birth
take-
certificate.
On the birth
unwed man?
certificate,
Spinster.
Let me look up that.
it's either divorced or a single man. It's not,
Yeah, nothing negative.
Are they saying that as a woman? If you're, let me see, male
If
equivalent.
you are a single woman and you
equivalent.
give birth,
Yeah,
you
right, so
are
you're a spinster.
considered a spinster on
you give
the
birth?
birth certificate.
Yes.
Yes, to birth to your child that,
Oh.
and you're not married.
Oh.
You are a spinster while the man is
I
single.
thought- I
He's just
thought-
single.
Ain't
I
gonna do
thought-
what I
Why
thought
we
at the
both
first
cannot
time
be
was
single? You
die.
know what?
I thought spinster was kind of gangster.
No, spinster
No.
is like.
Spinster has a negative connotation.
very
like
negative.
you ain't got
But
no
listen to this.
man.
What is
I'm
it?
gonna change. How
What
do I
is a
get that
similar
changed?
term for male?
Oh, you can leave that.
No,
that
seriously,
charging.
Ed.
These two were above words refer to female, but now I want to find out a similar term for male. However, unmarried woman is a woman who is not married. Source.
Why
No.
can't
They
it
don't
just
have
be unmarried
Married, yeah.
or single, just like you would call
It
a
needs
man
to be
single?
changed. They
Yes.
may have had it like that in the
Who
past.
do I
but
go
it-
to for that, Ed? Anybody listening?
I think you got to go to Webster.
No. We're talking about
at
over
the
here.
registry over
I think
here.
we're called a bachelor.
No, it's not a bachelor on the birth certificate. I
Oh.
think you were just simply called single.
So, because one of the things is we can't really show up. So I don't think anyone really investigated before.
No, why can't you show up?
I don't think we could. I don't think we
if you're
go.
both single.
No, here's what I'm saying. You're saying that they put spinster on the thing if
Kenny,
you're
that's
single.
a good point. We need to advocate for that.
Do you show? Look at you. You're all riled up now.
I'm going to champion that.
No, for real. I don't like that. I don't like that
I don't
term
like
either.
that one bit.
Yeah.
So who do I?
Don't worry about it. We can talk off air.
First of all,
We need to go through him because he ain't being
if you
referred to
don't
no
touch me with no
spinster.
straw.
It's not a straw. It's
We're better not
a
Straw,
splash
okay?
stick.
Because I feel put upon.
It's a splash stick. It stops the
Okay?
splashing.
I feel as if you're, making, some kind of
that is my
unwelcome move.
2018 goal. I've said it right here. December.
You're gonna get rid of spinster?
18th,
It's December
2017.
20. Yeah,
Hey,
18.
listen, go on a mission, man.
Yes.
I like
be right
missions.
I like that mission too.
Yeah.
I hated that
Yeah.
when I saw that.
hate that.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what we could do to help you out.
What's that?
We could just come up with, we could be like Spinner.
No,
You could be Spencer and Spinner.
no.
If we come up with a name, would you be upset?
No, because it's not only to
Wonder what
for women.
spinster
I think
means.
it's
Wonder where that's derived from.
there's a definition. I think for both men and women. I mean, come on, man.
You're a
Treat.
spinster.
It's equality. Like I'm not just because I'm fighting for women does not mean that I would not fight for men.
Yeah.
I
You're
am.
not going to, though.
Of course I would.
Yes, I think she would. We didn't even finish with the marital rape thing because I was talking about how I felt if this proceeds, we have some legislation. We got to go to break. Oh, huh? We got to go to break. We got to go to news.
Yeah.
We come back after the news. Stay with us.
So you're not happy? You want to come and sit by me? You want to sit on my lap?
That would make me very unhappy.
Come sit on my lap.
And it will also land you in court for a
Sit
sexual
on my
harassment
lap and
lawsuit.
tell Santa what you
me
like.
too.
No.
Hashtag me too.
Yeah.
Just
Then
me too.
I could be on the news telling my story. But
I have a story
had
for you
to
about
run.
women
I had to
sitting on
run
me. You
behind
have to be
Kendra.
very careful with that.
Huh? Say, what'd you say? What'd you say? What'd
Stop
you say?
it.
What'd you say?
I'm just telling when I was a kid. That's Kendrick. We on there?
Oh.
Of course.
Oh, okay, I can't say that then.
What did-
No,
what did he
no,
say? I
no, you
missed
can't
it.
say it. I'm telling you, I'll
back.
say it off the air. Can't say it.
No,
Yeah.
but what did you
Tell
say?
turn off
you
the thing.
can't.
Turn the things off. Tell us when we're
You
clear.
can do that. Oh,
I didn't.
No, we can't. Agreed that we cannot talk about on the air?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
see? It's a democracy, after all.
It's
It's a big grid.
That's nice.
So now let's do a shift because when we have by the way our guest is Orinthia Komalafi,
I like
and
that
we're going to
last
talk about
Yeah, me too.
we're going
Nice
to
to
talk
pronounce.
about marital rape and other issues facing women, and some of the stuff that's happened over the last couple of months. But it's Christmas
Yeah.
time in the city, ring-a-ling, hear them sing. I don't hear any singing. I don't hear any ring-a-linging. What's going on?
It come in.
You coming? Okay.
Well, Sunday was my first kind of holiday season get-together thing. Because people started.
Ham, turkey, stuffing?
No. Just a little get-together with some friends, but for tea. It was just a little
Yes,
tea.
very
We
happy.
dressed up and went for
Did
tea.
you have skins?
I saw the elf on the shelf, by the way, in a store. I say this damn.
I saw it on
Where,
Saturday
here?
Night Live.
Yes.
See there?
But I'd never
I
seen
said-
it before. Don't point at
I'd
me.
never
I've
seen
never
it.
seen it
I say
before.
this
And you know what?
And now
you.
you're going to see Elf on the Shelf
Shelf
No,
everywhere.
but let me tell you how I roll. Okay? There's no such thing as Elf on the Shelf. You know what she did? We left here. She called these people, tell them put Elf on the Shelf so we can see it. I'm not buying into it. Let's move on.
It was a nice little thing when I read the box. Yeah.
I say, damn, this girl called Saturday Night Live and get that Elf on the Shelf.
Well, let me tell you the joke, right? So my daughter is, she's 10. So she's like, a couple of days ago, she's like, so Buddy's not coming then.
And whom is Buddy?
Buddy is what we named the elf.
Oh, he has a name.
Right. I said, she's like, so Buddy's not coming? I said, what do you mean, Mummy? Just take Buddy out the drawer. We like to find him in the morning. Could you do that for me?
Can you not screw up the tradition?
Right? It's like, I just like to wake up in the morning and find Buddy.
Yeah. You know what it is? You know what I'm very happy about? I don't like these children who sound like adults. Could you just do it, Mommy?
It's just like, no, she's like, take him out the drawer.
Yeah. Put him on the damn shelf. Did she say damn? Put him on the damn shelf.
We just like to find him, okay? And I'm like,
Get with it.
he'll be here tomorrow.
Yeah. Buddy. Where's Buddy? She not Buddy in the drawer.
Buddy in the drawer.
I'm not going to get him on the drawer. It's your job to get him on the drawer, okay?
So, I mean, she told me.
But
anyway.
I just learned something today about my good friend,
Who?
Rogan Smith.
Oh.
I know you don't think of us as good friends, but we are.
Arch
That
enemies.
she has a disorder.
Yes, it's a sad one.
I'm not going to make
Yeah.
fun of it. I want to, but I'm not.
But
because
it's serious,
I'm empathetic.
though.
It is.
It is serious,
But
you know.
don't say it with
But
smiling.
she
No.
knows it's silly.
No, it is.
That's
No,
why.
I don't know. I don't think it's silly at
No,
all.
well,
It's
how
very
she feels
serious.
is
Why do you
serious.
feel that?
No, she's gonna.
So
she's
tell us
gonna-
what the thing is.
It's a disease.
The
Disorder.
disorder.
It's a seasonal affective disorder, right? And mildly put, it's winter blues, right?
Okay.
But when you say winter blues, people just think it's a very trivial thing and it should be
Especially since we don't have
dismissed.
winter, yeah.
Right.
You know, but
Yeah.
I going into the Christmas season never makes me happy. And I had this discussion with some of my coworkers a couple of weeks ago, and one of them in particular was asking, like, you know, she was just like, "Come on, you got to explain this to me because I don't get it." I think about a lot of things during the holidays.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
I might have that.
Num-
I'm being serious.
Okay. Number one, we don't get like winters, you know, like the temperatures or whatever.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
if the weather shifts and it gets really, really cool, I feel very, very lonely, very depressed. I think about all my family members who aren't with me anymore. They passed on. I have a lot of family members who had
Right.
birthdays in December, and that's always really tough.
Right.
I always think about individuals who can't, because we make Christmas so
That's- I do have
commercial. Okay, and so I look at those folks who can't afford to purchase things for their kids, or the children who feel less
Right.
than because they're watching everybody go to the mall
Yeah,
and
yeah.
everywhere. I don't know what
understand.
it
I
does
understand you.
something
No, I
to me.
understand you. Believe it or not, I understand. I didn't realize that was a disorder. I will be driving along Christmas, and it's weird because coldness brings a certain envelope around that, right? So like, you know, it's one thing to be in the summer, right?
Yeah.
But when you see at Christmas time when all the joy is happening and someone is standing on the street
Yeah.
and it's cold,
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
in Nassau it's
Yes,
cold, right?
yes.
And you know, you thinking you're going home, you
Yep.
got turkey in the oven and
Yep.
it's smelling good,
Yep.
and you got toys, and you think to yourself, man, how is this person
Can you
feeling?
imagine?
That's how I know
that
how you feel now.
bothers me.
It bothers me. I
It
never knew it
hurts.
was a disorder associated with that, but it really gets to me.
Yeah.
It's something I don't want to think about it so bad,
Yeah.
but it is a lot to do, especially with the kids.
Yeah.
When you
I
see
always
kids
feel for them.
walking along on Christmas,
Yeah.
you know, I'm going to say what I used to do because I feel I want to prove to you how bad it was for me. So I would get up on Christmas morning, and over the course of a year, I haven't done this in 10 years now, I would collect toys from my friends who they have tons of toys, just tons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they they play with it once or twice, and then that's it. So I would collect it, and then me and a friend on Christmas morning would go and take them out over the hill. We would just hand them out to kids on the street. And to see what saved the depression for me on that was to see how they reacted.
Yeah.
It really was weird
that's
because by
what
the
I'm doing.
third year, he got it.
They used to use Santa Claus.
You know, but I used to
that
ma-
means
but
so
yeah.
much. I can't even imagine. I remember when I was living in Atlanta, and I remember coming from Nordstrom with like a bunch of bags with like presents, and I remember looking at these children who I was taking like the subway because you'd park and take the subway, and I remember just looking at these kids as they were watching and like
And the States is bad, boy.
and the mother kind of put her arm around don't worry about that, and it was like so hurtful.
Yeah. And the States is especially bad, especially if you were living in the States at the time, because no matter how crowded a city is for her,
lonely.
there's a level of loneliness that you cannot
Lonely.
feel, that you cannot understand.
Lonely.
It doesn't happen here as much because people have family.
And you can stand on a corner, you know somebody, they can pass you. You don't have to know anybody. You feel
Trying to
so
find-
alone.
I
There
know
was
that. I know.
a
I see
quote.
that when I see people, even when it's not a seasonal. I'm driving down the road and I see someone walking, just walking, and I think to myself, so who are they connected to?
Yeah, I understand that.
You know
completely.
that kind of way. Yeah. So
I didn't mean to put it down.
No,
but that's,
but
that's
but
what
you
it
know what?
is.
It also causes people to do some phenomenal things
Oh,
for
I
other
was
people
looking for
because
this,
of how they feel. You know.
Yeah.
So anyway, but other than that, you have some ham.
Oh no, I was gonna hold on. I wanted to
Honey
say
baked?
this quote.
What?
Go ahead.
Jim Carrey said, which was very fitting to this. You know, no holiday should manipulate you to the point where you're going into debt just to show someone you love them.
No.
Is that ain't what it's about?
And but that's what a lot of these people are
That's what it's
doing who
become.
cannot really afford to get, these things for their kids. They, but they see, these other kids are getting these gifts and things, and so they put themselves in a
Well-
position that, and that's what
Well,
he's
you asked
saying.
me,
No
you asked
holiday
me
should
before we
do
got
that.
in, before we, because I know we have to go to a break soon.
What was
But
your favorite?
About memories. And I tell you, I said, listen, I grew up as a poor kid,
Yeah.
but I went to a school that had a mixed class of people. And I'll be honest with you, I generally, for the most part, Christmas was disappointing.
Well, see, we have
Because
to go.
people
hey.
got things, people got things that I, could
guess
never
maybe
get.
because I don't know. I have memories of. It's not what I got. It was just the overall feeling, and that's why I love the season so much. Not because my birthday and everything, but no. But I remember, growing up, my parents in the kitchen, they're cooking. The Christmas music is playing. The Christmas lights are just dazzling, and then my siblings and I would just sleep under the Christmas tree, and we would get, in our pajamas.
I mean,
and we would
listen,
have
I wish I
a
had that.
good
No, if I
time.
focus
I
on
wish
that,
I
if
had
I
that.
no, I
That's
did
what I
have some of
focus
that, and if
on.
I focus on that, it's good. But I
wish
think
I
we
had
were
it.
all disappointed together. So yeah, no, I'm just
but
saying.
I guess I don't think we ever really made it about gifts.
Well,
but
you probably
anyway,
had gifts.
no,
Yes.
we had gifts,
Yeah.
but
had
you know
gifts.
what? I may have to ask my parents. Well, was I upset if I didn't get like the
Yeah.
Cabbage Patch
Yeah,
that I
yeah.
wanted?
She had gifts.
But I don't
my
remember.
mom used to be like, you see that light on? Now water on? That's your gift. That's your gift.
But
Illy-
I
Illy, turn it
try.
on anyway.
Yeah, I try
Oh,
to
wait,
recreate that
we're
for
winding up,
yes.
and we're breaking. So listen, Candy, you have to come here on Thursday
Yes, I do.
because we have things we have to do.
We have
so that we can make
business
people
to-
depressed. So
Exactly.
Yeah.
I
I sure
gotta go
hope
in
you're all
depth.
happy with what
I'll just go
get.
like, you know what? I hate this because I don't want anyone to get. I'm depressed. It's really bad. Anyway,
That's why you don't do these types of things.
well, did I initiate that? No.
I don't know.
I
Okay.
initiated that one.
Yes.
So
yeah.
we can
the depressed one initiated it.
Exactly.
Okay.
How we let her dictate.
Yeah. Anyway, Candy,
Okay,
always a
Thursday.
pleasure.
Thank you, Candy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We'll be right back. Our guest is going to be Arinthia Komalafi. He's put together. Thank you, Kendrick. We're talking off the air, but we're going to do Zoom on the air because we have what you call it? Secret what? Secret Santa.
Secret Santa.
Which is silly because Santa is secret, supposedly. And I think I've decided what I want.
Okay.
So y'all can chip in. You, Candy, and Ken, I need a new
but
chair.
then you funny about like things like that, so I don't know
I
what kind
funny?
of. I mean, like if I got you a chair
Get a gift certificate.
to wear.
I'll go pick up the
you
chair.
talk. Okay.
And I don't go to no office supplies.
But
I
then
just go
other
to
people
like,
could be using it too. You don't care about that.
I'm going to have to put some, what you call it, Scotch Guard or something on it. Anyway, it's been around for 20 years, so. So, our afternoon is blessed with the arrival of Arinthia with an A, Komalafi. I have petitioned the courts for her to change it to an O, so we can refer to her as OK.
So she was changing her whole name just so you
Yes.
could call her
Just
okay.
the new initial.
And she said that the older folks used to say Arinthia with an O,
Orinthia.
and the new ones say with an A, and I said, and that's why they were okay and y'all are not. Anyway, how you doing?
I'm good. How you doing? Good to be
Good,
back.
yeah, good to
Yes,
have you back.
we're happy to have you back.
Thank you.
Especially in the Christmas season. You're a mother of how many?
3.
3. Okay.
Nice.
So you're in full mode?
Yes, full mode.
What's the oldest of those children?
The eldest is 11.
Oh, yeah, that's
and
still-
the youngest
yeah.
is 7.
Yeah.
Is this still a
7,
Toys R
8,
Us?
11.
Toys
Toys R Us
is
is
still there.
closed down, I think.
Come on. It's still
Yeah,
there.
I think they closed. I think they
What?
gone
No,
bankrupt
man.
or
When
something.
I was last, in the
What?
States, they closed down.
I think they
Stop your
can't
lies.
sustain because I think Amazon.
Amazon. Well, jeez, I can't
It's
think of
Amazon
stuff
or
I
us?
got off of Amazon.
What did you ask me and I tell you what I want? Something or us? What was that?
I remember.
Was it Cash or Us or something like that? No, you asked me where to get something. What did you ask me?
I can't remember. Oh yeah, they're facing collapse. Well,
Yeah.
not those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one in New York closed down earlier this year.
Ooh.
Yeah, man.
Closing
I
at
remember.
800
Do you remember a
stores.
store? And I don't know if this still exists because this was for the wealthy people originally.
What's that?
FAA Schwartz.
Yes.
Yes.
That still
That's, I
exists.
think that's still there. Eh?
I'm
Yeah.
not sure.
Because
It's
that
in New
was
York,
big.
eh?
It was New York, and they
Yeah.
had one in Orlando.
Oh my
But so
goodness.
your kids, they got the whole decorations, the thing.
Yep.
Okay, good. So you're still in a joyous part of your life in terms of Christmas.
Indeed.
Because as soon as your child gets to where you get the envelopes, it's over.
Yeah, because they want money. Yeah.
Well, not that they want. You have nothing to get them. What are you going to get them? at age 19.
Yeah, computer and those gadgets and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but the
Cars.
the kids
Ca-
have
cars.
that. Yeah, but
There you
I'm in
go.
the car
The
bracket.
cars.
Kids nowadays, if they're 17, 18, if they're 16, 17, 18, they have a computer because they have to use it for
Yeah.
school. They you know,
Yeah, so computer or a laptop, what you call it, the iPod or something
they
like
want
that.
a new brownie, new one.
New
Yeah.
one.
Anyway, so now you have been, you've seen a lot of, this is a big segue. You've seen a lot of goings on. You know, the last time we had you on the show, we were talking kind of post-election.
Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And it's now, what are we, in our 7th month, I guess?
Yeah.
7.
7th month. And there's been a few things that have mulled about. You had, although under the radar, so to speak, like the Immigration Act is supposed to be changed, I don't think it's changed yet. You heard about the Commercial Enterprises Bill. You know, there's not obviously a lot of big things, but obviously there seems to be some like the financial scenario, because you're from the financial world as well. Bahamas Development Bank, if I recall. What is your assessment? Do you think that there is a foundational work being done to kind of get the country back on the right track, or do you feel that there's nothing really been substantive?
There's very little substantive that I can point to that I can say that has been done since this administration has come to office. What I find about this administration so far is that there is a lack of focus, there's a lack of guidance. There seems to be a lot of ad hoc policies and makeshift management that's going on. And for the most part, when we look at the parliamentary agenda, what we have been seeing is a lot of reactive or reactionary measures being put in place so that we can maintain our integrity on the global stage. And then that tends to happen, right? Administration after administration, we just continue to put in place these reactionary measures. And so now we're focusing on these legislation that these multilateral agencies like the OECD.
But do we have much choice if they're constantly bombarded? You know, I'm not very big of a fan of these, whatever these are, these FATFs and OECDs and all that. Because every year, every damn year, where I hear that you've come close to meeting the requirements, it's like, okay, there's another 28 to do. It's like it's a moving bar. Like they want to, and it's their right, I guess. They want to make sure that every single dime that is not generated in your country is generated by some foreigner. Well, I mean foreign to us, but someone
domestic to them.
Domestic to them.
Yes.
That they want to get, and that enough is never good enough.
But we've known that for how long now, right? So we've been on this path, and if we want to really pinpoint it, we can go as far back as the 1980s when this whole issue of anti-money laundering came up, or we can go a little more recent in history to 2000 when we put in place the compendium of laws to address the financial services industry. Of course.
But that doesn't seem to be enough.
Yeah, but is our response always going to be to react, or are we ever going to be on the proactive side of things? What's our response to address this issue? I mean, what they're coming up with, obviously you're going to have the squeeze coming from these multilateral agencies. The same things that we are crying for here in our country, the fact that we believe that there's inequitable taxation, the fact that we have social issues, the fact that we have structural economic issues, are the same issues that are happening in their countries, right? And there's a perception that we are a tax haven or we are low tax jurisdiction, and we've been accommodating these individuals who have been avoiding the full extent of paying taxes in their domestic.
But where does the so for instance in the U.S. tax code, at least up until recently, and in fact I understand the new tax code is going to have even more loopholes that people don't even know about yet, where more people can domicile themselves in foreign jurisdictions, right?
You will always find loopholes.
Right. So the question, so here is the question then. For instance, we had John Roll on the other day, and we talked about the premium on investment dollars.
Yes,
okay?
the 12.5%.
And his position was, people are always going to find a way to get out 5,000 at a time and this and that and the next. But would we have in place as a mechanism to at least keep the currency stable, okay, where the majority of people can't take advantage of these little droplets? isn't it up to them to tighten up their rules on their people? If they've got a tax code that says if you take a left at the corner and turn right, you can do this. And then when someone takes advantage of their tax code loophole, we have to fix it because of through some draconian measure like, oh, and you know what? If you don't get Arinthia with an A's name right, we're going to punish you. We're not going to give you pre-clearance.
It is. Of course, it's up to them to address their own domestic issues. But at the same time, there's no level playing field. We all know that. We understand that. We're small boys in the bigger scheme of things in this globalized world. We have created our economic structure dependent upon these individuals coming here to patronize us, whether that's through tourist arrivals, whether that's through foreign direct investment, or whether that's through providing an environment for financial services to be able to prosper here. But at the same time, okay, can you fault them for doing what they're doing in their domestic?
No.
And so should we sit here and should we just cry and should we just say that there is no level playing field without us doing something to protect our own citizens?
What is this something that we could do?
Right, because you're saying we were reactive, and that's what I was saying. What else can you do except be reactive?
Yeah, well, you can restructure your business model as a nation, right? So number one industry has been the tourism industry. The number two industry has been the financial services industry. We've been experiencing now for several years an erosion in both those industries, a significant erosion in the financial services industry, right? And we continue to look outward as opposed to look inward. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't look outward, but we need to be addressing the issues that are also inward. So if we understand that we're constantly under attack by these multilateral bodies and the financial services side of things, how can we capitalize on the number one industry? Have we expanded or exhausted all of our options there? Have we moved toward a system of diversification? Have we looked to expand and to grow existing industries in the Bahamas, manufacturing and agriculture, or looking at and addressing the issues that impact those various industries, whether that is the access to capital, the cost of capital, the cost of energy, the ease of doing business in this country? Are we addressing those issues that are pressing issues for not just the foreign direct investor, but the local domestic investor as well as the average Bahamian citizen?
Well, let me say this to you.
So look at the legislative agenda.
But I want to address what you asked a question, so I want to answer that question. You're interviewing me now. For many, many years, I've been around for a while. I remember as a reporter back in the 80s, these same issues have been around. Diversification of the economy.
Yes.
Back then we called it bank secrecy. It was literally called bank secrecy. They didn't even pretend. We have bank secret, okay? Bank secrecy. We had measures back then that the U.S. didn't feel comfortable with. In other words, you could go to court and get access to documents. But here's what people never understand when it comes to these things. You're an attorney, correct?
Yes.
And you're in the financial services sector. Never underestimate the power of stakeholders. Okay? If the government of the Bahamas said today, because the most proactive thing they could do is say, you know what? We are not going to be subject to this kind of scenario anymore. We're shutting down the financial services industry. That's extreme, right? The reality is people then are impacted by that, and the people who make the laws, lawyers, okay, who are impacted by that, and the financial sector people, the trust companies, all of those, they don't want to see that business go. They want to see you keep on trying to eke until, it's hopeless.
But no one is asking the government, to shut down the industry.
I know who is. Those other countries are.
Well, perhaps the multilateral bodies are, but we're taking it domestic now. We're looking local, right? Because we're going to have these external issues. As a small island development state, we're going to have these external issues. The issue that I have, and going back to the point that I was going to make before you commented, when we look at the legislative agenda since this administration has come to office, can you tell me what legislation has been tabled in Parliament, passed in Parliament, with the intention of being effected to impact the local community? From a social standpoint, from an economic standpoint, from a financial standpoint.
I think the Commercial Enterprises Bill has. I think it's huge.
How? How is it huge?
Well, let me tell.
What's the scientific data
Well,
that you have to tell
listen.
me that this is huge?
Well, do you have scientific data to tell me it isn't?
No, but I want to say you're the one. No.
Well, I will tell you.
You're the one who's telling me. You're the one who's telling me that
I'm not going to tell
huge.
you. No, I'm not going to tell you scientific data, but I will tell you theory. Okay.
But tell me how it's huge.
Well, I will tell you how I think it's huge. We have had a closed economy. To your point, exactly to your point, we've had a closed economy for the last 30 years.
That's incorrect. This nation has been built off of foreign direct investment.
No, we've had a. Let me tell you what we've been built off of. Tourism.
That's foreign direct investment.
Right, exactly. But that's it. That's it.
And financial services.
To your point about diversification, okay, the Bahamas has been a closed shop. Okay.
How do you justify that
let me give you an example. We had Godfrey Enos. One thing about doing the show, we learn a lot of things over the years. We had Godfrey Enos, who, as you know, is the director of BAMSI, on the show. And he talked about the years when we had, if you recall, Rogan, strawberry farming and all of this type of thing, and the hatchet, all of these farms. You remember that discussion? And you know what the problem was? People in this country said, I'm growing some strawberries, and I don't want the foreign strawberry grower to be here. And so it was shut down. Okay? That's closed. Okay? We didn't grow the strawberry business. We shut it down.
Was that the only issue, or was there a geopolitical issue, or where there was this decision that it was easier to import from the United States of America than it was to produce locally? Because I've seen Dr. Enos give commentary on that as well.
Dr. Enos, who was right here, said, look, we had a situation where right now, in Florida, the homestead, you remember that? In Florida, people don't know this is the breadbasket, one of the breadbaskets of the United States. They have the same, if not, we have better arable land than in homestead. But because of our policies, I'm only repeating what he said. Because of our policies, we have not allowed this to develop. Because we are very, very insular. We're very, very concerned. We're very xenophobic. We have all those negative scenarios. And so we don't allow certain sectors to be infiltrated. Okay? We've allowed in tourism sector to be infiltrated. Why? We don't have the capital to build a $4 billion hotel.
But not everybody wants a resort-style experience. So you can provide capital to build a boutique-style hotel that's culturally themed.
Because I'm telling you.
Well, the Bahamas Development Bank has historically provided the capital for multiple boutique hotels on the archipelago.
And what happened with those?
What happened with them, and to what extent?
Were they successful?
Does the government
Did you get the money back?
But does the government provide the level of advertisement funds that it does to the big resort hotels? Does it provide it to the small boutique hotels?
Each of those hotels.
Do the small boutique hotels get the support from the policymakers that the large resort hotels get?
Each of those hotels, in addition to what the government's provided, those hotels match those resources or more. The point I'm making, you were the director of the managing director of the Bahamas Development Bank, right? Many of those decisions, as I think you commented on the air, were political. I said it very clearly. I don't want a single dime of my money, my tax dollar, going into capital investment for anyone. Period. It's not what the government is supposed to be in. Okay? It is just something I don't want with my money, the government taking risks to especially when it's a political concern, to invest in someone else's business. That's not where they belong. So that's another story. But the point I'm making, you asked, what is this, how is this going to
you were telling me how the CEB was huge.
Yeah. See, and I look at it purely from a thing, not from a political perspective, right? This is how I see it. And I use this example all the time. The motorcycle company that I'm aware of, okay, who decided they wanted to bring their design company to the Bahamas, okay? They wanted to get out of Italy, where the tax scenario was, monstrous, and they wanted to come to the Bahamas and set up shop here. Now, first of all, there are no motorcycle, and pardon me if I'm wrong, there are not that I'm aware of motorcycle entrepreneur action going on here. Or design stuff going on here. So first of all of those people would have come, and I know no one likes to hear this, but all of those people would have come, and they would have had to have some kind of housing. All of those people would have come. They have to buy food. They have to buy this. Multiply that by 1,000 or 10,000. Okay? Now, here's where it really comes into play. When a Bahamian who is studying in the United States engineering, and he just happens to like motorcycle engineering. Well, right now there's no opportunity for him here, so he stays in the U.S. Now maybe there's an opportunity for him here, and maybe, you never know, he might end up being a partner in that business.
But yes,
it's just expanding the scope of what we do.
But our economic policy has always allowed for that, for the foreign direct investment to come in those specific areas if you actually have the area. There's so many issues with this bill.
You said you made a statement.
Sorry.
So tell me where that's happened. You said it's always been allowed that. It just the people were refused. The people were refused.
With the economic policy that we've had for the past several years, what would have prevented that motorcycle company from Italy from coming here?
They asked to have 12 work permits, and they were prevented from coming here. That's what.
12 work permits?
Yeah.
That's it.
That's
what prevented it.
No,
you asked me a question. I told you the answer.
They asked for 12 work permits.
Because they have 12 or so designers.
How many Bahamians were they going to employ?
Bahamian designers of motorcycles?
Wherever.
None.
How many?
Well, I don't know, but the point I'm making, here's what I'm talking about.
But we have
it's going to be bigger than that.
Yeah, here's the point I'm making to you, Aranthea, okay, without getting confrontational about it. I'm talking about expanding the economy. I'm not talking about, how many Bahamians were going to work at the motorcycle factory. That's our problem. What's his name?
That's
George Smith.
That's one aspect of
Talk
it.
about opportunities versus jobs.
Yeah, but that's one aspect of it. But
how about advertising firms and all these who can contribute to this company?
But what was the economic impact of that motorcycle company bringing in those 12 work permit employees to the Bahamas gross domestic
I can tell you this. You know the impact. I can tell you this.
Don't tell me just the rent and the grocery that they're going to purchase on the ground.
This is what I'm going to tell you. You know the economic impact of it not coming? Zero. You have to take a break? No. The impact of it not coming, was zero. And the fact of the matter is, all around the world, and you're right, you're absolutely right. We are not proactive because all around the world, Arinthia, all around the world, people are competing for these businesses.
I agree with you, but you
so what's wrong with us?
But you're looking at it in isolation. There are many things that are wrong with us, and that particular bill is not going to address the issue that the foreign direct investor has with coming to our shores.
Okay.
Because we still have not yet addressed the ease of doing business.
I agree.
The cost of energy is high.
But
the cost of labor is high.
But that is being addressed.
But it is being addressed.
Okay, so
did we put the cart before the horse?
No, they're actually doing it now. So this is what you have. You either have not being addressed, or have been addressed. These are only three options you have. If it hasn't been addressed, then being addressed is better than not being addressed.
Who's it being addressed by?
There's a committee called the Ease of Doing Business, who I think has already submitted a report to the government.
And who are the members of the committee?
I can tell you the members, but I don't feel like telling you
And
right
was
now.
there public consultation with industry stakeholders and civil society? There's been town hall meetings by that committee?
Well, I don't know if there's been town hall meetings, but the point is, listen, we know, this is what I know, and this is
the findings.
Well, I'm sure we will know, but here's what I'm saying to you, okay? I'm not going to sit here and get into what's the word I want to use, the naysaying of it all. Here's what I know as a leader, and we've talked about this many times. You could have a town meeting on whether or not it should be the business license process should take. Okay. We'll come back to this, right? You can have a town meeting on whether or not the business license process should be faster, or you could just make the business license process faster. We'll be right back. But what were we talking about before about the ease of doing business? We'll come back, and then we'll come back to that. Ready? Yeah, so we're back. I don't have the little headphone thing. So we're back with our friend Arinthia. Does anyone ever call you Aramantha?
No,
only
not
me.
Really.
Our friend Arinthia Komalafi. I want to say I know another Arinthia. I only know one other Arinthia.
Okay.
You may know her as well, and that's with an O.
Okay.
And she's a little older than you. Who's former candidate for Delaport, actually, for the DNA.
Killarney?
No, you are.
Oh,
Killarney.
You were.
Killarney. Okay.
I say it used to be Delaport,
yes,
right?
Yes, long years ago.
Hey, it's like Montague, you got to say what you know. And we're talking about what has been transpiring over the last several months. One of the things is this ease of doing business, and we'll go to the point of the CB bill as well. And I say, the Bahamas, in fact, the first show that we had, do you remember it, Rogan?
With the former Prime Minister.
And what was the first set of pieces of paper I had in my hand? It was the ranking of the Bahamas.
Oh, okay. Ease of doing business. Yeah.
And it showed
You're
the
talking
first
about
show.
Singapore and all that?
But, and it showed how we had slipped from, I think it was, I don't know the dates, but we had slipped from like 50 something.
Yeah.
No, 50 something. Literally,
this
it was
was
like
earlier,
58.
way
Yeah,
long down.
down to 121. Okay, and there's some basic scenarios. And basically, these are inefficiencies. People not doing the job. Essentially, the fact that you have to go get this from this place and that from that place and all that kind of stuff. Well, I am aware, maybe, I don't know, that there is an ease of business committee in place and that they are making recommendations to the relevant minister or the prime minister with a view to streamlining these things. Okay. Now, is it perfect? I don't know. I know there has been consultation with people like the Chamber of Commerce and other stakeholders. I'm of the view, Arinthia, that there are certain things that don't require consensus all the time, because you need to get some things done. Not all, but some things, because we could spend years consulting. Meanwhile, we're slipping more places down the thing. But going back to the CEB, you said that that is the Commercial Enterprises Bill. You had a very strong points off the air that there are some issues you have with regard to the bill, specifically that if the Cayman model was the model, that we then we are weak compared to that model.
Yeah, we are extremely weak compared to the Cayman model. And as I was saying off air, we have several issues with this bill. It's the authoritarian nature of the bill and the fact that so much power is vested in the minister
of our government.
Well,
period.
Perhaps.
So,
so we have a governance issue, so we know that,
yeah.
right? And the fact that it's not vested in authority, which if you went to the Cayman legislation, you will see that it is vested in the authority, and there's more of an engagement by multiple persons at the government level. So there's a representative from immigration, labor, investments, etc., on this authority, and not just the minister. Right.
So let me understand. I want to make sure we're accurate because I have not dug deep into it. So you probably have more authority than I have on this. I understand that the issue you're talking about with regard to the authority of the minister is one of those age-old lines in every bit of legislation that says at the discretion of the minister.
No.
You're saying this goes further than that?
This goes further than that because the minister has the power to determine certain areas to be special economic zones, certified economic zones. The minister, in consultation with the Minister of Finance, can also extend economic incentives to the foreign direct investor.
Who's the minister in this instance?
That's another issue. The minister in this instance for this bill, if this was a bill
it's the Minister of Financial,
it's the Minister of Financial Services and not the Minister of Investments.
It's all in one now, right? Because we have the Minister of Investment.
Well, it's all in one now, but you still have the Chinese wall. It's just vested in one minister, as we have constructed it at the national level. But if there was a minister who had to be responsible, it would be the Minister of Investments. If you
but I mean, just to cover that, that's a semantic because we have the Minister of Investment, Trade and Immigration. That's what we have.
Yeah, that's what we have.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it doesn't matter the name. I mean, that's what it is.
Yeah, are we going? Is the next government going to put all of those portfolios together?
Who the heck knows?
See, this is the issue.
But that's not indicative of. Every government does this. What do you call it?
So should we continue the cycle? The bill is.
No, the next government then shouldn't change it.
The bill is now an act, and the act says the minister responsible is the Minister of Financial Services. If you
there is no Minister of Financial Services.
But that's what the bill defines.
It says financial services,
it
or
says,
does it say financial services?
No, it does
trade
not.
And
it says financial services.
Okay,
so that's an issue,
right?
The authoritarian nature.
That's a misconnect.
Yes, is the issue. We also say that the bill is a misnomer because it calls itself a commercial enterprise bill, but it's really a bill that focuses on fast-tracking work permits. So you say within 14 days, if there's no response from the Director of Immigration, the permit will be granted, right? If you look at the Cayman Island legislations, why I speak about the fact that the bill is not transparent, if you go to the Cayman Island legislation, it speaks to the economic incentives that will be extended to the investor. There's a
I'm going to grill you here. Do a like for like. You brought the issue that it's fast tracking work permits. Does the Cayman bill also do that? If it doesn't, then we can talk about that. But you went from immigration to something else. So
okay,
does
so
the Cayman
let's
do that?
address that. First, let me give you the backdrop to this bill in Cayman. Cayman has the same two main industries we do, tourism and financial services. This bill was established to create a third industry for the Cayman Islands. So this was a diversification
Or
bill.
other industries.
Really. No, a third
what
industry
was that?
because this bill established a city.
Okay.
It's an enterprise city.
Right.
And so everybody that's in this specified economic zone are functioning in this city. And once you come and you apply, yes, Cayman is more transparent, and yes, you can get it. In fact, you can get it in less than 14 days.
Okay, so it's
you can
important
get it,
to make those
you
comparisons.
You can get it in 5 days.
Well, then, yeah.
Right? But your application as well can be approved in 7 days or
Doesn't
less.
that just speak to, and it's very important for me to jump in because you've got a million things going on, and I don't want to just run
Yeah,
down.
that's
Okay,
fine.
so let's deal with the work permit issue. Okay, now, first of all,
But
why?
the work permit follows the approval of the application.
Okay,
Our bill is silent on the application.
Okay.
Our bill says you
But let's
still have
just-
to go to the Bahamas Investment Authority.
okay, let's deal with
For
the,
your application.
Right, let's deal with the immigration issue because I want to make sure that when we talk, there's a lot of emotion around these things, and so it's very important. That's why I had to stop you, my good friend. Okay, because you dealt with immigration and then you went to like they're dealing with something else. I want to do the like for like.
No, because you asked me what were the issues
Okay.
that I had with the bill, so
Okay.
I was outlining
Right.
the
no,
issues.
but you did it. But then you said, but unlike the Cayman, and then you went into another subject with the Cayman.
Okay.
So what I'm saying is, let's deal with the immigration issue here and the immigration issue in Cayman, because those are the two comparisons you want to make, right? In this case, first of all, I understand from the Attorney General that 14 days is 14 working days, so it's actually 3 weeks. That's number one. Okay. Number two is why would it take longer than any days to at least respond to an application? You know what this goes to address? The extreme of when it sits here for 3 years.
No, because you raise a very important question. Well, there's an issue with the Department of Immigration, and this is where I talk about the ease of doing business. There is a backlog there, not just for any type of product you can want out of there. There is a backlog. So again, very valid point you raise up. This is a circumvention of that, right? So it shouldn't take that long. It shouldn't take that long if we don't have the backlog. And why do we have the backlog? Perhaps there's a labor issue,
Sloth.
a manpower issue. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
You know, I would like to see the Ease of Doing Business Committee produce to me why we're having these backlogs. That would
You
be
know
a
what?
very
Let me
good
tell you,
part of their
Arithia,
findings.
If you go, and who was it who we had just recently? We had someone recently who said if you go into the immigration department,
Not
and I know
John
I've gone, okay, huh?
No, you know what I mean,
Okay.
John Rule. No.
And if you go in there and you walk into, say, an office like this, there will be files up to the roof everywhere. When you send, and you're an attorney, when you send your application, I'm sure you've applied on behalf of clients, you don't know where that is.
That
Its
happens.
system is not automated. So they can't even find your file. That's beyond
Again, it goes
ridiculous.
back to the ease of doing business and the fact that we have yet to digitalize our government services.
Right.
Which also goes to the heart of the ease of doing business.
I agree.
And so I say, if you're going to say to me, there has to be some empirical evidence that says to me that this is going to be huge because we have yet to address the issues that the foreign direct investor will experience. You can give him his 14-day work permit. You can give that to him. But he still has to go to BPL and connect his services.
Right.
He still has to deal with the inefficiencies and the
ask you a question. Let me
deficiencies
ask
in
you
the
a question.
government agencies.
Right. But let me ask you a
He
question.
still has all of those issues.
And I agree with you. But let me ask you a question. I just want to ask this in the vein of hope versus no hope. Okay? And this is the season of hope. Okay? When we embark on a path of trying to resolve something. Now, I understand, and I could be wrong on this, but I thought I heard it. Maybe you can correct me. That the government was going to embark on engaging people to deal with backlog. Literally, they were going to engage a group of people to deal with the backlog in the case of the immigration department and other areas. So obviously, both have to happen simultaneously. I can't be applying for something while you're dealing with your backlog if mine is at the bottom of the thing. There has to be this and this, okay? But when we go to try to do these things, is it a negative that we're attempting to move forward, or is the negative, well, we're not doing it the way that some people want us to do it.
No, it's not a negative, but when you're in government, you have to be open to the constructive criticism. Okay? So if you're not doing it wholesome or as good as it can be, and when you're doing these things, in financial services industry, we do it all the time. You benchmark. You have a new policy you want to bring forward because you want to make sure that you're competitive. And the question you have to ask yourself is the commercial enterprise bill competitive? And that's the competitive nature in me, because when I put it side by side with the Cayman Islands, I feel that we're coming up short. So, and the investor is going to pitch their tent in Cayman Islands as opposed to coming to the Bahamas. All it is a lipstick on a pig.
Okay,
you can say you can give me my work permit in 14 days with all of the
so let me ask
people
you this
I
question.
need, but I still have issues.
Okay. So let me ask you this question. I think, and unfortunately, this is the failing of human beings, not of us. We're above human beings in here. You too. Is the failings of human beings, right? Is the approach to these things, because these governments, no matter who they are, they have egos. Okay? And what I always see coming is automatic no's. Not, listen, that's a good thought process.
There's
I'm
some
talking about,
validity there.
that commercial enterprise bill. I'm not saying you said that. This commercial enterprise bill has potential.
Yeah.
Let's do it a certain way, as opposed to, you know what?
It's
You're
trash.
just trying to let foreigners in
trash.
here and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
That's the problem
not
that we arise.
constructive.
So you know what ends
Yes.
up happening? The public becomes polarized and
Yeah.
can't get to the discussion that we're having.
Yeah.
But that goes to communication. You're going to have the emotionalism inside things if you don't get ahead of things. And we are experiencing that not just with the commercial enterprise bill. And by the way, this is not just an F&M administration issue. Okay? The PLP experienced
everyone
the
has done
same
it,
thing,
yeah.
and then the previous administration before that. Because government institutions, you can't come half-hearted and put things on the table, not in today's society. If you're going to come forward, you have to come with your empirical data, you have to come with your impact analysis, and you have to address the issues. And when there are certain issues that impact the social landscape of the country, you have to engage the people. Yes, you don't have to consult on everything, but there are certain issues, if you don't want an uproar, because the way the administration handled the commercial enterprise bill, it became a backlash, right? Because then the emotions came in. Well, what are you doing for us?
You know what
and
I
why are
think?
you
Let me tell
laying
you,
out the red
I'm much more
carpet?
I
cynical
feel
than
like
that.
even if they had
Yes, exactly. I'm much more
the town
cynical than that. I've been
meetings,
around.
It would have been the same
Let
thing.
me tell you
It wouldn't have
how
been
my
any different,
cynicism
Orinthia,
arises,
unfortunately.
Orinthia. I've been around.
Town meetings, or maybe if you put a bill on the table that address the issues
Orinthia,
impacting the
I hate
average
to say this. Let me
Bahamian.
tell you what I say. Let me tell you what I think. Because I can't recall them. I'm not going to sit here to recall them, but I get you that there are things that impact the average Bahamian. But that's not the see. This is the problem where we get bogged down in politics. And I'll be honest with you, I'm completely against this democracy after election thing, because you get nothing done. Okay. We have to get to we
Well, I
are
don't agree with
desperate.
that. I don't- I don't-
Let me finish the point I'm making when I
yeah.
talk about that. I'm not talking about people don't have input. I'm talking about how, as a leader, there are things you have to do. Okay, we all have input. It's a free country. We're doing it now. Okay, but the point I'm making is, as you know, you can have the most perfect bill. Okay, the most perfect bill, and sit down and say, look at this bill that we've consulted with all these people on, and here it is. And guess what?
He'll still be
Someone is going to come up and say, that sucks. It's going to negate the Bahamian
Yeah.
people's, what do you call it, big right and this and that. And then we have a town meeting and beach. And it gets nowhere.
But
So we've missed an opportunity.
to some extent, I agree with you, but I can also tell you that consultation on this bill, because I'm involved with bodies that actually gave a contribution back on this bill and raised these very issues, only for the administration to still table
Yeah.
the bill in the form
Yeah.
that when they sent it out in its consultation position, and still had to
I
go
agree
back
with her.
and
That's
address the
disheartening.
issues. So is it just, are you just showboating and saying we did
consult
consult,
with you and doing
but
your
then
own
you
thing
didn't make
anyway.
the...
and like you said, everyone does it. Yeah.
I'm telling
Yeah,
you, in
it's
this
terrible.
instance with the commercial enterprise bill, there was input by bodies, and the administration still decided to table it in the form that they presented it originally. I say that, and it was before it was tabled.
Okay.
I say that being a part of the
Right. Well, then
process.
why did you say if there was anyone consulted, if you knew that people were being consulted?
No, I wasn't talking about that. I wasn't
Okay.
talking about the commercial enterprise
Okay.
bill. I was talking about
the other
ease
one,
of
about
doing
but yeah,
business.
yeah. So at the end of the day, if the bill comes out, you don't think it will have any benefit for the Bahamas?
No, I never said that. And in my statement, in my official statement that I put out as deputy leader of the DNA, we said we appreciate what the government is trying to do in moving toward addressing some of the issues in the country, but we outlined the issues that we had with the bill, and they were constructive issues that we had with the bill.
Right.
This is not partisan politics, and this is not trying to create something in the attempts that this administration will fail. This would have happened with any administration.
Yeah, and that's a sad. And by the way, I'm going to say this to you, and we're running out of time again. It's amazing. One of the things that is most sad, and you and I, and we've had this discussion before, and I thank you for coming again, and I'm sure you'll be here many more times, is I don't care which government it is, and I'm going to tell you, I won't put it on the DNA, but except when it happens, then I can put it on them. Okay? It's like, you can't tell me nothing.
Yeah.
But it's that kind of like trait of, if you tell me something, what that does is diminishes me and ups you.
Yeah. And it's a very polarized society, and you don't want to hear from me. And if I say something, you have to put a color on me.
Yeah, so you got to sneak that through someone else.
Away from
that can't come from no party. That got to come from like someone else. You got to talk to someone and say, well, "Listen, man, talk." I mean, it's sad. I hope we get to the point.
Or just be fair in your analysis. It's just like what you said. They can say the good points and the bad points, but a lot of times all we hear is why it won't work or why the bill sucks.
Let me tell you something. I live in an existence, okay, where every day of my life almost, I hear the following words: "Oh, she's a PLP. She's a FNF.
And they dismiss everything.
She's a DNA.
That.
No, but what? Excuse me. How is she a what? She's a Bahamian citizen, okay, and that's it. How do you get to where, even if it's just like to get a flower from somewhere? Oh yeah, well, she's a PLP,
Well, the political parties perpetrated that. And it has gone beyond politics now.
That's
it's in the
saying.
church. It's in school. Everything in this country is dictated by politics, and it's sickening.
As
a young professional, it is sickening in this country.
Thing. That's why I'm saying to you as an old guy, because I could be hard on you, be like you, that's why I could be hard on you. Don't fall in that trap. It's very easy, It's very easy to fall in that trap. Don't fall in that trap, because we can call you. What'd you say?
I can tell you off air.
Okay. We'll leave it. Listen, Komalafi.
Yes.
We got to go. Who did I saw just now when I did that?
Like any typical gully.
No, Wendell. Our boy Wendell.
You didn't miss any typical gully.
Yeah. Anyway, so listen, it's always a pleasure.
Yeah, it was good being here.
Yeah, man. And you're going to come back, right?
Yeah, of course.
Of course. Listen, I want to wish you and what are your young ones named?
Morgan,
good
Alexandria, and Joshua.
Good name. Very good names. Yeah. Very good names.
Right, you know someone named Morgan?
It's close to my name. Just
Mystique?
Just
Rogan.
No, Rogan. Just with the
I know we're close, man. Gee whiz. I don't know who she know named Morgan.
Listen, only they miss the
Gagan?
The M.
The Gan. Yeah.
You can't spell.
You're two Gans. Okay.
No, those are great names.
Yeah,
that'll get them hired in the future.
Wonderful names, yes. Listen, thank you for coming. Merry, what am I saying?
Very
Merry Christmas to you. You don't have a seasonal, what do you call it? Seasonal
affective disorder.
Affective disorder.
No, I don't.
Okay, she has it. Yeah, we both have it. And Happy New Year to you.
Thanks so much
to you.
Thank
you
Thanks for
very
coming
much.
by. I keep
appreciate
pushing.
it.
I gotta struggle with you. All right, we'll be back on Thursday. And we'll have our little thing. We're gonna have a very interesting guest on, and I don't know if other shows have ever done this, but a lady approached me when I was at the hotel saying how she listens to the show. She's an average citizen, and I don't even like to use that word. She's a citizen of the Bahamas. Yeah, she's not, Mr. So-and-so but she listens to the show. She loves it. Yeah. And we invited her to come on the show and talk to us about, her
whatever she wants to talk about.
Whatever she wants to talk about and her perspective.
This is going to be fun.
Her perspective. But you don't hear that a lot, eh?
No.
No, and we're going to do that more often. Bring people on who we share their perspective.
Yeah.
And not row. All right, but listen, we'll see you next year, and Rogan, we'll see you on Thursday. Ken, we'll see you on Thursday.
Thank you.